session. So this session is focusing on training and education around core facility management. And this came up during the Lab-B session, that there are things that core facility managers don't get trained because they're scientists and they have to wear many, many hats. So we have to figure out how we can help them get the sort of training and support that they need. So I will hand it over to our wonderful Alison North as moderator for this next session, and look forward to the presentations and some great discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Nikki. I was worried there you were about to say everything that I was about to say. So she covered it beautifully, but just to say, our first speaker in this session is Phil Hockberger, who I think probably you all know. But the thing that's amazing about Phil is that he hasn't just looked at the training on microscopes aspect, but he's really focused on the business side of things. And I think this is an area where it's really been lacking support for people running cores. And so I'm very excited myself to hear this talk. Thank you very much, Phil.
And thank you, Alison. Now, the presentation I'm going to give today, online audience back on April 26th. So if you attended that one, this is a review. If you didn't, welcome. It says I'm from Waymaker Group. I retired from the university this past September, actually this month, and now am doing more consulting work, and some of that involves core facilities. Pardon? Even louder. Okay. Why does a core director need business training? Well, you know the answer to this question. Because a core director is an entrepreneur operating a small business within a nonprofit organization. That is assuming you are a fee-for-service operation, and that is the contemporary model. But there are other reasons why you need business training. It's a new business model for running a research lab. You are, in fact, and at Northwestern, we refer to our core directors as PIs, running a research lab with a different model, a different financial. Each facility leverages the director and staff's expertise to advance the research of its users, facilitates applications of advanced technologies across disciplines, is used by multiple investigators. These are not common for our other PIs. Is supported by a fee-for-service model, not grants-based in the traditional way, is managed in collaboration with a business administrator who's part of the team, and provides cost-effective delivery of services. It's also a career path, a new one, requiring skills beyond technical expertise. It requires understanding how to create value for your users, how to communicate that value to the users, how to set appropriate pricing for services, recruit talented staff and promote their career development, and balance a budget while growing and sustaining the facility. Each one of those you see: value proposition, salesmanship, understanding value, team building, entrepreneurship. This is something brand new that we're trying to create here. But it's not just the directors who need it. The university have core administrators, many of them, and they need business training for obvious reasons, alignment with institutional policies and priorities, and for ensuring compliance with relevant state and federal laws. But there are other reasons for them as well. This new business model and new career path creates new challenges for the institution, advancing the research priorities of the institution, determining the scale of the investment, measuring institutional impact, maximizing the return on investment, ensuring a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workforce, and expanding access to other institutions. And it also enables new opportunities. Regional and national research centers, partnerships that facilitate this, and international research consortium. Now, how do we prepare our institutions and our leaders, of course, to address these challenges and opportunities? And there are three ways, at least, that we should be paying attention to. First, in the life sciences, the FASB task force on maximizing shared research resources, 2017 and 2021, the task forces were created the first one by PIs from institutions and the second one by primarily members of the ABRF community as they developed recommendations. I encourage all of you to go online and look at those recommendations and your administrators at your institution. Second, get involved in meetings like this. We all understand the value of reaching out beyond your own institution and looking and finding best practices, both regionally, nationally, and even internationally, as we're doing here today. And thirdly, encourage leadership and management at your institution. And that's the one I'm going to hone in on here. Best practices in leadership and management can be done by training opportunities. The ABRF has some online opportunities. German Bioimaging has a core facility leadership and management course. And Global Bioimaging has some onlines. And I just learned from Peter O'Toole, the Royal Microscopy Society has a leadership and management course, which is coming up in 2 weeks. It's, Peter, is it only in person or is it also virtual? Louder, in person and virtual? Rotating. This year, will it be virtual or in person? In person this year, okay. And it's at York, University of York. Now, two of these here, the ABRF and the Global Bioimaging are online, but the German Bioimaging is in person and has been in existence since 2013 or 14. They've published an article early on around it, and I'll say it's very similar to the course I'm going to describe that we created at the same time at Northwestern. That one is in person in Dusseldorf. Ours is in person in Chicago. They're both 4-day courses. They have tuition. Theirs is about roughly 3,000 euros, and ours is roughly 5,000 in dollars. And similar topics. So I'm going to walk you through ours. Ours is taught by faculty from the Kellogg School of Management, which is one of the elite business schools in our country, and through the nonprofit sector of the business school, so that they're well aware of the challenges that you have of creating a business within a university environment. So these are executive education programs with a certificate that comes. Ours is taught every June, and the German one was just taught last week, and it's every September. So the one on the right here, the course at Northwestern, been in existence, it's in June, it just had its 9th year in operation, and it's annual. And here's an overview of the course. Their Monday is strengthening organizational leadership, and we talk about the importance of building business skills and organizational culture. This is something that is new oftentimes to scientists who are not aware of the fact that there is a culture driving everything that happens in every organization, including your own. Tuesday, understanding market tools and team leadership. So strategic marketing, how to lead teams. Wednesday, understanding marketing and pricing management, how to create market value, pricing strategies. Aaron Rosen taught this for many years, who worked with me in the core facility world, and understanding your value and how to price your value is essential here. We're scientists. We've not been exposed to this kind of thinking before. How do you set prices? And then on the 4th day, strengthening team leadership and management, strengths-based leadership, persuasion and influence, all the sort of the beginning of teaching you the tools you will need to convince your institution, as well as the faculty of your value. So emphasis on soft skills, team building and leadership, strategy and marketing, understanding your value and how to turn that into a pricing structure, and organizational culture and how to influence that culture, how to understand it and influence it at your institution. So over the 9 years, Here is a table listing who's taken it. In year one, I only allowed Northwestern people to take it so that we could work our way through the process to understand whether we're hitting the right topics. The first few years, we noticed there were a few topics like accounting. The first couple of years, we did generalized accounting. It turned out that wasn't that useful for people. So we don't teach accounting anymore. We shifted to value pricing. And over time, what you see is early on, we had many people from Northwestern as we worked through all of our cores and our staff and the business administrators to take the course. Eventually, there was a sort of 2018-19 about the same. And by 2021, which was the only year it was virtual, there began to be more people from outside of Northwestern than inside. And you see the last couple of years now, the course is now sustainable. It can go on. There's enough interest from outside of Northwestern that we can keep it going for the foreseeable future. Average is 23 attendees per year. And here is the list of institutions that people took the course, their institutions. U.S. universities, you see there's 36 of them. Included in that group is University of Utah, and Sean is here. Sean is one of the people who have taken the Kellogg course. Internationally, there's 8, and McGill is 1, and Claire took that early on, the course, the second year in the course, 2014. And you see hospitals and centers and institutes all have core facilities and have sent people to the course to learn business skills. We have pictures taken every year. Networking is a big part of what we're doing, creating an international network where they not only have access to their partners who took the course the same year that they took it, but to a larger network of people who've taken the course from previous years. And that turned into its own online communication tool where they can ask each other questions and understand that they have at least some of the vocabulary that they share that is a business driven vocabulary, so they can ask each other questions and let the group weigh in based on their experiences where they are. And that's it. I'll stop there a little bit early and pass it on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Phil. I think that we're holding questions to the end, right? Okay, so our next is Adan. I don't think Adan needs any introduction. I'm thrilled to have him here talking about the GBI scheme. And I would just like to say personally, I met Adan in July in Montreal, and it was an absolute pleasure. And it's so nice to be back here again. So now I want to hear about all the work you've been doing with this. Thank you, Adan.
Thank you, Alison. Well, you know that I'm pleased of being here with you from my heart. And this presentation will be a combination between personal feelings and education and how we are transforming the bioimaging in Mexico. Okay, so I'm going to speak about a GBI LMMA course about facility management, impact, operation, user training, and metadata, which took off on February 23. Okay, you all know what is GBI. It's an international network that brings bioimaging communities together to try to bring problems and solutions all together. And there is representation in every part of the world. And so I had the opportunity to get really involved in this initiative when I was in Montevideo in the GBI Exchange of Experience 7, when I was presenting a project connected to what Diego just showed, the Mexican Bioimaging Workshops and other initiatives that are running in Mexico, trying to connect the community. And we have seen a beautiful celebration during the Labi meeting. But the point is that this meeting has changed my life, and not only my life, but the life of all the people that is just doing science close to myself. So I'm really glad to be here, and I would love to be in the following meetings contributing actively. So during this meeting, I heard about the different global bioimaging initiatives, and from all of them, the one that is related to training for imaging and core facility staff. So this initiative is tailored to create thematic courses, which are normally joined between GBI and another institution in a place in the world that needs education. And the courses are tailored to develop training for service provider, for people that work in facilities. So we were discussing about what could do in Mexico together, and we end up with a GBI LNMA course. And this is interesting because it was after pandemics, and I had the honor to organize the first in-person international training for GBI after pandemics. And that was a very complex thing because in Mexico, everything was closed and we have just to start over again. We have to really know what infrastructure was working or not. And not only about physical infrastructure, but about human infrastructure. So we focus on facility management and image data, and it was opened and tailored for imaging, facility management, and technical staff. So it was featured in person after COVID, and and also we bring in-person speakers and also remote speakers. Okay, so it was great because Gleb did a fantastic job bringing you some of you that are here in the audience to Cuernavaca, and just to share what is your knowledge with the Mexican community and with the international community. Okay, so the main topics that we developed in the course was how to measure impact of imaging facilities. So this is connected to a working group of GBI, setting and managing an imaging facility. So Phil just tell us some recommendations in that meeting. We have several talks of Philip, just sharing his expertise and his wisdom. We also went through user training, career development in core facilities, a strong need of user training that we have identified, and also image data management, data reuse, and getting know about repositories. For me, it was really a thing, knowing about the repositories and what kind of things now we can do in Latin America with those. Okay, so I will just give some learning outcomes that we got. First of all, we got recommendations for adding value to our facilities. So that is important to communicate with decision-making and also with ourselves. If we value our work, then we will be able to communicate it. So I really like that part. Also, we share about experience of ISO standards, and I realized that in Mexico we have plenty experience in ISO standards. So our university have 252 labs which are ISO certified, and I didn't know that. So, and this is very important because then you get to realize what things are being doing correctly in your country when you just bring together people, and that was fantastic. So also we have an exchange, we exchange experiences about establishing imaging facilities, big imaging facilities, solo facilities, and how we can support the career of our peers. And also we got an experience about this world of fair principles, data reuse, data management. But as organizer, I also get some learning outcomes. The first one, delegate, and so on and so forth. And now that I'm getting these soft skills that CCI is providing, thank you, CCI, it's just pitch everyone you encounter and that might be willing to contribute, because then you can get a new partner that you didn't know. And I'm not speaking only about your peers that you already know, scientists, but also the people that do administration, that do design, that do art. Everyone can contribute, and just pitch them all. And they will be happy for that. So avoid micromanagement. It's important, try to create a team that is willing to help you and prioritize the long-term experiences. Don't really get into the texture of immediate perfection. Nothing is perfect. We will always have mistakes, but there is something that is going to last, which is knowledge, which are experience. So focus on that. Focus on long-lasting and don't go into the texture. And there is a very important thing that it just happened here in this meeting, and it has happened in any meetings that we have organized in Mexico, secure liquid funding in advance. So in all countries, you have to deal with administrative problems, administrative issues that have to be sorted. And that is not easy. And sometimes it takes time. And if it takes time, and if you are organizing a meeting, you run out of time and you run out of money. And that just destroy the overall experience. So this is a recommendation, a global recommendation for BINA, for CCI, for everybody. Try to give liquid funding in some way to the organizers. Otherwise, they have a very bad experience. So in the case of this meeting, we secure personal funds to pay for all the meeting, and then after 1 month later, we got the money back. But everything was done with liquid money. And that is very, very important, okay? So this is, I'm quoting a phrase of Mariano Buffone. You need people that can do all of these kind of things. As scientists, we are not really trained for that. I mean, we have the experience, the examples that Bill has bring to us, but it's just, I was trained as a scientist, not as a business manager. I can really get some of those abilities, but there is people that already had a degree on that. Okay, so collaborate with these people. They really will help you a lot. And for myself, I always need a duty. And some of the things that you have seen there is because there is people that have a study just to do publicity, to do beautiful logos, to negotiate with Hacienda, to negotiate with the universities. It's just plenty work to do. And if you are developing a program, you have to delegate those and you have to trust. Okay, so speaking about regional and international impact of the GBI course, so when I was in Uruguay, I end up in this impact group of GBI and working with Leah, with Claire, with Lagans, and we bring that working group to the meeting. But how communicate impact? And this is the way I'm going to communicate impact to you, direct impact. Okay, first, bridge and blend culture on. Okay, it really boosts experiences. I remember that here you like the axolot, isn't it? I mean, that boost, you will remember the BINA forever, and you will remember also the knowledge that you gather here. So that is important. And here is the logo. It was made by Joey, of course. And can you see here? It's the combination of global initiatives with local initiatives with support of a foundation, and it's just connected in a colorful logo about Mexico. And we are trying to share this to you. And this is important. All of these details are important. And if you are just focusing in the program or just focusing to get the money out of the institution, you will not have time to create these beautiful experiences. Also, try to collaborate. And it's not only about science, it's about human development. And in that sense, I mean, you can become creative. And in this case, we established a cooperation with the dance company of Morelos State, and they bring out a Mexican folklore dance that was part of the activities of the students, and people really enjoyed, and people have time to speak about that and also have to connect. We also collaborate with people that was creating food and just bringing the traditional culture to our participants. So more things happening. So during the meeting, yes, during the meeting, I had the opportunity to to wake up earlier than the meeting and going to the radio station, not in my university, but in the neighbor university, and speak 1 hour about what was going to happen and everything that will live. I shared the experience with my community, with society. And then after things start happening, and I become the vice president of the Academy of Science of Morelos. So society knew that we are doing something good at the international level. As you can see here, in this Twitter publication, it mentioned that we have participation of five continents, and that is a global bioimaging initiative. So we also share, not only share with the people in here, but also the presentation will share via YouTube and connecting with BINA. Thank you, Vanessa, for taking this over. And an important thing is that I bring this message. This is a slide of the presentation. The most important here is you. It is people. And just speaking about impact, this is some alumni testimony, and Nicole Salgado is here, and she just wrote this for you, that she really had the opportunity to engage with the Mexican bioimaging community and to disseminate the acquired knowledge within Chile. And see what happened the week after. So we have Luis Colta, which was professor in our meeting, that went to Chile to visit Nicole's facility, and they just engaged together. I just found this in Twitter. During that course, Julian Mejia heard about the International Job Shadowing Program of GBI, and then met Rocco D'Antonino in person. So they paired with Gleb Gerbnep to register the Francis Crick Institute into this program. And Julian went to visit Rocco at the Francis Crick, and then they released the Napari SuperRes plugin that is actually available in Napari Hub. And they also developed science, and it's just things happening. And for me, this is impact. And this was something that surprised me. So Luis Cole and Alan Barlow wrote this paper entitled Through a Mexican Lens, Learning from the Global Bioimaging Community, in which they published it in the newspaper of the Australian Microscopy and Microanalysis Society, and share what they live. And what you are seeing here is a pyramid. You are not, there is zero pictures about microscopes in this paper, but it is all about culture. You can read a lot of things about these topics of the courses in the paper, but the highest impression was culture. So bring it on. So I will just finish with a phrase that was given by Federico Lecumberri yesterday, and is move the trainers close to the people that needs to be trained. Thank you so much.
Super inspiring. Thank you very much. Okay. So now our next speaker, if I'm right, is virtual, and is Kate Luby-Phelps. I haven't spent a lot of time introducing Phil or Adan because they've both been here all week, so you guys have met them already. Not there yet? Oh. Okay, I've been reminded that the online audience is not aware of who they are. So that is a very good point. Sorry.
I know who I am.
Anyway, I think I don't really need to introduce them now because you've already heard from them, so maybe it's a bit late. But I did want to introduce Kate to those of you who are here, as well as those of you who are online, because Kate actually early on in BINA's concept came up to me and said she would like to be involved in BINA, which is a very risky thing to do to one of the co-chairs, because if you come and say that, you're likely to get involved. And when the pandemic broke out, and we realized that there was a massive need for people who could actually, assimilate online training resources for all the people who had shut down their facilities and were desperately trying to train people, we actually asked Kate if she would set up the new training and education group. And she did such an amazing job of this, and she jumped on it so fast and so hard and so forcefully that I always now think of her as the redoubtable Kate Luby-Phelps. So
How embarrassing.
I am particularly delighted to introduce Kate as the speaker in virtual leadership and management training options. And is everything all set to go? Everyone's fine? Good. Take it away.
Can
Kate.
everyone hear me? Great, thanks.
Yes.
Can everyone hear me? Good.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Alison, for the very kind introduction. And I'm very humbled to follow two such great talks from Phil and from Adan about two of the premier in-person core facility management training and education opportunities. But what I'm going to talk to you about today is BINA's recent efforts to develop some sort of virtual training options for core facility management. The idea really, although Kellogg's was offered once virtually, and I guess the global bioimaging course was hybrid, if I understood correctly, we really wanted to have options for people who can't commit to travel somewhere or can't commit the time to spend a week being trained, who for other reasons are not able to attend one of these in-person courses. And so it's meant to be complementary to the other courses and is meant to be offered virtually. And some of the goals we had in trying to figure out how to do this was it needs to be affordable. A lot of our members at BINA are single person cores, managing cores all by themselves, and they can't take time off, or they have family commitments. And in addition, they may or may not have any kind of support from their institution for training. And so we wanted to try to develop a relatively low cost alternative. And through the generosity of CZI, we've been able to supply some tuition help for some of our attendees. And as I mentioned, people don't necessarily have the time to do a concentrated training. And so we wanted to try to make it time efficient, which means concise sessions and flexible timing. And most of all, it needs to be relevant. So in the past 2 years, we've tried two different options, two different off-the-shelf options, because we reasoned that reinventing the wheel was probably not within our capabilities, and possibly not desirable if something else existed already that we could tap into. So the first year we contracted with HFP Consulting, who do the German bioimaging training. And this was presented virtually. And again, in 2023, we switched and used a company called Soft Skills Incorporated. And I'll tell you more about both of those options in the next couple of slides. But I wanted to start out by pointing out that these opportunities were advertised on the BINA website. They were advertised in BINA newsletters. We had special emailings. We made it easy to register by having a link on the BINA website to a registration form. And as I mentioned, we did provide some opportunities to obtain tuition assistance. So in 2022, HPF Consulting, who are the ones, as I said, who run German bioimaging training, led 8 virtual sessions over 4 weeks for $3,000. So that was 2.5 hours each session, and it was a lot of sessions, and you had to do the whole thing, and you had to pay the whole price. So BINA tried to make this a little more affordable by subsidizing people's tuition so that the participant cost was $2,000 or less. And the course had a maximum capacity of 16, and we were only able to recruit 15 people at that time. And the people who took it, I think, were generally very positive about it. They learned key concepts, but the two issues I think that people commented on were that the course wasn't taught by people with a lot of core facility experience. It was taught by people who have experience in business and management. And I mean, that's true in Kellogg too, but they had the guidance of Phil's knowledge of core facility operation, and also all those test runs with people at Northwestern, which we did not have. And in addition, it was felt that some of the things that were presented were really great for a European audience, but weren't as applicable or relevant for a North American audience. And I say that recognizing that Canada is not the US, is not Mexico. So we all have 3 different models, all of which probably differ from the European model. So we decided to try something different into 2023, and we went with Soft Skills Incorporated, which became well recommended, I think, by Claire. It was a Canada-based firm, and they were willing to offer modular training. And so each session was 3 hours, and each session cost $130 each for up to 20 virtual participants. Now that's the cost. $130 is the cost to BINA to present this, and then we offered it to our participants at that price. Again, I think we had some subsidies for people who couldn't afford the full price, but really $130 for one session isn't too bad if you have some kind of income. And unfortunately, the response within North America was not overwhelming, and so they opened it up more broadly, and we did have participants from Qatar and Spain, for example. In general, again, this was well received, but again, this was not really viewed as core facility specific, which disappointed a few people. It was more generic soft skills. And if you look over here on the right of this slide, you can see what the sessions were: leadership skills, negotiation skills, time management skills, high impact supervisory skills, and assertiveness and confidence skills. All of these things are important. The problem was that it wasn't linked to how this applied to the situation of a core facility manager. So we're rethinking what we're going to offer in 2024. And so I'm just going to end my presentation by asking you to fill out a brief poll if you can. The QR code will take you to a Google form, which you can fill out now or later. So I wanted to ask, the first question we're asking here is, why did you decide not to attend the 2 previous workshops? You know, as you noticed, we didn't fill them, and this was of some concern, and we want to know why so we can improve the offerings. And so the suggested suggested reasoning here is it was too expensive, you didn't have enough time, topics you want to hear about were not covered, you're not interested in this type of training, or you didn't know about the workshops. And then the second question in this survey will be, what topics are of most interest to you? And I broke them down into soft skills, generic soft skills like leadership, communication, and negotiation, all the things that were presented in the previous courses, team development, conflict management, and core specific practical skills. And I don't mean how to use a microscope, I mean some of the things that are covered in these other courses, GBI and Kellogg, about how to set prices, how to market your core, usage tracking and reporting software for that. What if you can't afford to buy a software package for that? Managing workflows, proposal writing, just a whole slew of possible practical skills that you might want to hear about. We cover some of these in BINA's monthly virtual exchange of experiences, but the idea would be, perhaps rather than having a networking and discussion, which is what those EOEs are mostly about, would be to actually have experts in these things with personal experience doing it in a core facility, or at least understanding how it operates in a core facility as presenters. And then, of course, there's the option of other, where you can fill in the topics that are of interest to you. So that's all I have to say. Please take a few minutes to fill out the survey. And now I think I'm the last speaker, so when it comes to the Q&A, I am happy to take questions and comments. I'll leave the code up for just a little longer.
Thank you, Kate. If people could fill that in maybe while we are asking the speakers to come to the front. So if Adan and Phil could please come to the front. Kate, stay online. Excellent.
So what Vanessa is saying is she will leave this slide up at the end of the session with the QR code so that you can go ahead and do the survey at that point.
And I've also asked Nikki, after the question and answer session for this, if she would mind speaking for a few minutes about the MicroscopyDB, because I think it's something that's come up a lot, but people really haven't heard enough about it in one concentrated form.
I just want to jump in and say that my canned presentation, I don't know if it's been shown yet, but I do talk a little bit about MicroscopyDB in that when I have a canned presentation regarding what the working group's business has been this year. So
yes, Training and Education Working Group are going to update, and in that there'll be a piece on MicroscopyDB. So we'll let that roll after the Q&A session, and if there are any questions about that, Kate can help answer them, or so can I.
Perfect. We have a plan, Kate. All right.
Sounds great.
Questions. Do we have any people in the room with questions? I see one right there.
Thank all the speakers for the wonderful talks. So my question is to Phil. So how do you customize your training, knowing that people that come to these trainings come from different backgrounds, different political situations in their institutions? So how to navigate through these different cultures and different worlds that we live in different institutions?
Great question. So what was the thought process that went into creating the topics and selecting the the teachers at the beginning, and then how it evolved over time. So in the beginning, I had already under my belt 5 years of overseeing core facilities. And so I had a pretty good idea. Then I started to teach myself. I took a Kellogg 1-week executive ed course called Business for Scientists that already existed. So I sat in, they allowed me to sit in and watch this course, and I realized we needed one specifically for us. That one was for postdocs and junior faculty who were interested in starting companies and what would be involved, just to give them a jump start. Some of the same topics that I ended up selecting, but there were some new ones. So that started the process. And then I read a few books. One was called MBA for Beginners, because I was a beginner, to sort of see the landscape of what they teach at business schools. And then a conversation with the faculty at the business school, and particularly the leadership of the nonprofit sector, Liz Howard. And I told her what it was I was interested in, and she helped me craft the initial program. So that's how it began, educating myself and then working with the business school. Then we delivered the first course just to Northwestern people as guinea pigs, as it were, and learned that some of the Kellogg faculty, even though we had met with them beforehand to tell them about our audience, gave their traditional presentation. So we worked with them afterwards, and a couple of them, it didn't work out, and replaced them with other speakers. So over the first, I would say, 3 years, the actual topics evolved. But now it's had its 9th year, and we're pretty set. We know exactly, I think, from feedback from the participants, what it is that they want.
Thanks, Phil.
I think the next question is over there. If the microphone can make its way over. We're just waiting for the microphone to go on.
Okay, now we go. So there's been a lot of discussion about reproducibility in data, standardization, pipelines, all of this thing. But parallel to that, there's also certification and ISO development. And I'm very curious, and I'll add a comment here, is that we worked for 3 or 4 years on ISO approval, and it was an immense amount of work. Like people that have done it, they know what goes into this, and it's nobody wants to do it. And so there's big resistance, and everybody that tries to do it, and the staff was hesitant. And so during pandemic, we had a lot of weekly sessions with a whole group of discussions and working on this. And then in the end, we decided not to do it because it's so expensive. But in that whole process, it helped us really clear up our pathways of billing and following samples. And so our infrastructure is really good. But I'm very curious to hear from other speakers, is it worth going for ISO certification? Is it worth getting some other type of certification, or any suggestions from management, people that have done this before?
I have a single answer. Yes, it worth it a lot. Specifically in our lab, just going through the ISO process allows to improve the service that we provide, allows to organize ourselves. So processes are not created for making the life harder. Instead, they have been created to making the life easier, but people have to commit for those. In our case, one of the biggest success of ISO was that Arturo Pimentel really got into it, and he just learned the deepness of ISO, and at the end he became part of the ISO team of the university. So having people that is compromised to lead an initiative within your lab, that is the way in which you can get the best out of it. So we start doing ISO about processes, and now we're thinking about ISOs more developed as the discussion that we have here, like certifying instruments that will give trust. So the point is to give trust to society, to give trust to companies. And I know it is hard, but it is worth it. That is the belief that I have. So sometimes you need support. And what it happened is that the university just pushed us to go into ISO. It was not only a self-driving process. It was part of the certification of all the labs within our university. And that's why they established a program to help scientists in the university to be prepared for ISO. Indeed, first we have two certifications, the internal and then the external. And in the internal, university help us to go through the entire process. So, yes, but not go alone.
And another, Greg, another aspect of this is not relevant at the moment, but maybe down the road. And that is, as we provide our services for industry, certification becomes a bigger issue for them. I'll leave it at that. But I want to put a plug in for Monica Gutierrez, who gave a talk at our meeting in February on ISO, and all the work that's already been done on the microscopy and imaging side in the ISO community. She brought it to us and gave a beautiful presentation. So I refer you back to her presentation if you haven't had a chance to see it, to get yourself up to speed.
Kate, I just want to check, did you have anything you wanted to add to this subject, or should we move to the next question?
No, not really. In my course, it's not something that we've even discussed, but definitely the Training and Education Working Group has discussed, but not arrived at a conclusion about some kind of certifications.
Okay.
Whether they're desirable, whether there's a market for training to how to get one, or if we should be issuing certifications, not necessarily ISO, but certifications to core facility managers who take our training or anybody else's training. You know, we've talked a lot about it, but we have no conclusions as yet.
Okay. Next question. Like that. Nicole.
Hi, hello. Since facilities need to have expert staff, right, in their team, does any one of you know about a job board or something like for staff for facilities?
Did you say a job forum?
Board. Yeah,
Oh.
because if not, it would be, I think, a great idea to work in one as a community, because it's really hard to find, for example, some expert in sample prep in certain techniques.
Yeah.
Or even a manager with previous experience.
I think this is one where Kate can jump in.
Yes. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for the question. So this is MicroscopyDB was originally conceived of as a repository for links to training resources, but it's gotten larger. And so now it includes a jobs database and an events database. And we may soon be also putting up a tools database, microscopy tools database. So that is where we're trying to collect microscopy related job offers, if that's what you had in mind, that can be seen now from any of our partner organizations around the world on their websites.
Yes, yeah, so
in terms of a message board where people are looking for skills but not necessarily offering a job, BINA at the moment doesn't have anything like that.
Right. The BINA one has been consolidating ones that I've used before, like the ELMI job site and all of those. So the idea is the BINA one is now including all of them. Okay. Did you have anything? No. Next question. Is there anything online, Vanessa? While we wait for people to think of their inspirational questions. No online questions at the moment. Oh, there's Claire has a question back there.
So I had more of a comment, but Adan had put up several impacts from the February Global Bioimaging course. And I was here for that course. And then I had told people about the Train the Trainer course that we were running in Montreal. And we had quite a few, I think 5 or 6 people from Mexico came up for that course. And then when we were at the course, we were talking about the BINA Labby meeting and telling everybody about that. And I'm happy to say we have 5 people who came from Montreal to this meeting. So I think to me that was just so concrete that they may have thought about it, but then once they met Adan and a lot of the other people here from Mexico, you have that personal connection and makes it much more obvious why you want to come. So.
Well, I'm going to stick my nose in now and ask a question. I'm dying to ask a question of Phil, which is regarding these the Kellogg's course. Do you find that there is a specific level which benefits the most? I'm kind of thinking I'm probably too old to benefit from it, but you know, is this aimed, your course is aimed mainly at people just about to head a core, already heading a core, have been heading a core for years, or all of the above?
Great question. I think I'll answer it in a formal way. The course is for core directors, core staff, and core administrators, and business administrators. I would say each year out of the 23 average, we have 2 business administrators. And while we only have some topics specifically for them, the reason they come and the reason I encourage them to come is that it's nice for them to hear the interaction on the other topics and hear the challenges that the core directors and the core administrators are having. And so the target audience, being the core directors and staff, lends itself to core administrators and business administrators because we're part of a community and they need to hear it as well. So I think your question was targeting what level of a core experience do you need to have? And the answer is not extremely high. I think the more experience you've already had, the deeper your questions can be with the faculty who are teaching the course, but you can come with very little experience and still benefit.
Oh, yes. Hello, Vlad. Thank you.
Thank you. Quick question. So it's really great to see how these kind of trainings are currently coordinated. And there's a topic that reiterates you're reusing each other's materials. And I'm wondering, in this kind of coordinated way, would it make sense also to inform the core facility managers about the network organizations and to promote participation and membership, to educate them of what are the benefits of being there, to participate in that and volunteer in that?
Oh, yes. I mean, we all have seen the benefits of collaborating. And we are just, in the Mexican case, we are discovering our own community. Every event that we just release a call, we find new facilities. And it has to be a better way to communicate this message. And not only for facilities, but the entire ecosystem of bioimaging. So efforts like microscopy database can help to these initiatives. Now we are collaborating with microscopy database to share all the information that is being created all over the world. And we want to contribute to that. And we are actually doing it. So in terms of information, they are building databases which are public, which are for everybody. So it's not only about the courses, but about the needs. So this information, if it is available, it can be available for companies to establish connection with universities, for universities to know where they can find their products they need for their problems. And when I'm speaking about product, is not only monetary product, but also academic products. So communicating, I think that is the way.
I want to add to this, and then I'm going to hand it over to Phil. I think it's the biggest challenge that BINA has been facing. We've discussed it a lot, is how to reach out to everybody. I'm sort of shocked still to find how many core facilities are not aware of what we're doing. I send emails out to all of my users. For example, I say, join BINA, it's free, and you're going to have access to the job boards and the careers talks and all these benefits. And yet still people aren't joining. So I think the core facility directors have an enormous impact if they can reach out to their users. That's how we can try and bring in the imaging scientists. But even though I think I'm pretty good at marketing, I'm still struggling with how we actually get them to join, really be interested and take part in this. So I think that's the biggest challenge for us. And Phil.
So taking a step back, number one, incentivizing this is sort of where I was going with the first few slides, which is if you do this well, this is your career path and you will, as a small business owner, control your destiny. If you don't do this well, the institution will control your destiny. Number one. Number two, in-person versus virtual. The reason we do our meetings in person is for many of the reasons that Adan's already said. It's building community. It's cross-cultural exchange. It's all those soft, important aspects of why we do what we do. But let me tell you a little secret about business schools. The reason they're so competitive and they cost so much to get into is because of the pre-selection of who gets in. So the elite business schools give you access for the rest of your life to your classmates. So that's what, and so it's less about the topics which you can learn on your own. You're a scientist, but you have very good learning skills. What you can't do on your own is have access to this kind of leadership in your world. That's why the in-person is so important, as well as the water cooler effect, where you're having these conversations over dinner and out by the pool that you can't have. So virtual has value and it allows us to democratize access. There is no replacement for in-person.
Kate, anything to add here?
Not really.
Oh, right. I like succinct. Any other questions from the audience here or online? Katerina.
Hello, hi. I was just thinking about Vlad's question and Alison's answer. That is definitely a challenge we have to reach the actual microscope users and even facility managers. So I'm wondering, I mean, for example, ABRF is like targeted to facility managers. So maybe we can we can increase our partnership with them to make sure that they're also, the people there are aware of what BINA is doing and vice versa, so that we can reach more people. So for example, we have attended the ABRF meeting in person. It was in Boston, so I could do it. And now I'm a member of the core community, in the core, which means basically core rigor and reproducibility committee of ABRF. So I think we should try to do more of this so that people are aware, because there are things that we do that are overlapping, but a lot of things that we do are different. So I think it would be good to cross-pollinate.
Agreed. And actually, I should just add in that the Nature Methods paper that came out last week, I was ready to send it out to all of our users, and then I got an email from Helena Jambor saying, how about you all send it to your press offices? And these institutes have already done press releases. And at that point, I realized, oh, yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. So I immediately contacted the Rockefeller communications office, and I said, look, these institutions have done press releases, so how about we do? And they're doing it, so that should be coming out next week. So I think that is another way, and I think Adan has really led the way in here and showing us how to give talks on the radio and whatever. I've learned a lot from that. But I think, yeah, being more proactive in outreach is really important. Other questions?
Sidebar from Rhonda Powell. Would someone ask Claire if they're going to do another Train the Trainer next year?
Claire, are you going to do another Train the Trainer next year? The microphone's going to her.
So we are doing the we're planning a 4 session virtual version that we're going to bring in the people who couldn't get their visas. So we'll probably open that up with global bioimaging to a broader group, but we're currently not planning to run the in-person one.
Well, Claire's got the microphone. She might never forgive me for this. I think she'll be all right. I'm going to put you on the spot. So you attended Phil's, the Kellogg's course. So I just wondered if you could share like a couple of the most impactful things that you learned from that course that surprised you. I know it's putting you right on the spot,
No,
sorry.
it's okay. I took the course in 2015 and I can still remember the top things and I can remember the different lessons. It was absolutely fantastic. I can never, anybody ask me about it, I say, do it, find the funding. One of the things was to ignore the naysayers. And this is a common thing in business that I didn't really know. I'm one of those people who wants to make everybody happy. And they were saying that there's going to be about 20% of people who don't like what you do. They're going to be critical all the time. And you could spend a lot of effort and they may get to sort of like your facility. So spend your time on the people who love what you do, who are advocates. They're going to go out and tell other people about the facility. That was one. The second one is I realized what all of us are doing is a change of culture. And changes in culture take a lot of time. And we did a really interesting hands-on activity, which I won't spoil in case they're still doing it. But just that we're telling the researchers to do science in a different way. And so it's going to take time. And I've seen that transformation in my own institution and with these networks. But it was good for me to see, like, it's not something I can do this year. It's something that I'm going to have to keep pushing and keep plugging away and keep being creative. And then you see with the newer generation of researchers coming in, they're like, where's the core facility, you know? And so it's happening, but you have to be patient.
Do you want to add to that? Sean?
Yeah, so
Yes.
I also a Kellogg student last year. So for me, I think it's very impressive. The thing is like, so when you manage your core, you have your idea, right? But for me at that time, I don't know how to connect my idea to the business terms. You know, like the first thing we learn on the class is to build up your culture, right? So at that time, I don't know. Okay, that's the business culture thing. So I learned all the business terms, and then I can looking for the business module, and then apply those professional module to the core. Otherwise you just like otherwise you just like kind of using non-professional way to manage your core. That's the big difference like before and after this class. And during the class there are like a lot of fun like tricks, games, that's in person. You can only do this in person. That's really fun. That's yes, give you a lot of surprise. I don't want tell people more, but if you attend this class, you're gonna suffer some like surprise games that really help you to understand communications, collaborations, all those kind of things. So I really enjoy that. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other alumni who are here or online from the Kellogg's course? We don't know. Oh, Jim at the back. Can the microphone go to the back?
Hello. Yeah, I took it also, and I'll echo what everyone else has said about the class. It was really fantastic. And I often say, you go to seminars, you take notes, right? I write the notes, and I flip the page and it goes to the back, and I never look at it again. My Kellogg notebook is literally the only book that is next to my computer, and I still thumb through it. And I'm trying to implement all the ideas that I came up with during that, and it's been great.
That says a lot. Thank you. Any other questions? No? Don't seem to be any more questions. So maybe we should move on then to discuss MicroscopyDB. So are you going to run Kate's presentation first then?
So we are going to run the Training and Education Working Group video, and then that will be followed by our next Tech Bite. And then if we have a little bit of time after that, we'll do sort of a general wrap-up of the morning, and yeah, then we'll break for lunch. Thank you, Kate.
So I'm here if anybody has questions.
So I think we'll probably move quickly to the Tech Bite just to get that taken care of. Are we not doing a Tech Bite at the break? Oh, good, great. So we have some more time. So this is just a general wrap-up at this point. If there are questions for Kate about the Training and Education Working Group or any of the things that she shared in the presentation, now is a great time to ask those. And then we can just do a general wrap-up of the training sessions, both on core facility management, image analysis, and technology. Any questions for Kate on the DB, the MicroscopyDB? We can put the QR code up again at the end so that people can explore it a little bit if they'd like to. Sylvie is also in the online audience, and Sylvie is the co-chair of MicroscopyDB. So Kate, we could potentially pull up the BINA website and just point to where the training and education resources are. Vanessa, would that be helpful, do you think? Yeah, why don't you?
Or do you want me to put up? Would you want to pull up MicroscopyDB, since there's been a lot of questions and discussions prior to this on that?
We can do that too, but I think it's helpful for people to be able to see where in their own communities they can find that content, and then all those pages link back to MicroscopyDB.
Right. It's fine. Why don't you go ahead and do whatever you think is a good idea?
Yeah, we got a question from the audience too.
Hi,
Yes.
Kate, Katerina.
Hi.
I'm very
Hi, Katerina.
interested. Thank you for your presentation and your video, which was really well done. Anyway, I wanted to, I'm interested in the plans for tools. So how are those being organized? Because I think it would be good to have some input on what kind of metadata. So like, how do you search for?
Yes. Oh, yes. So that's a very good question. And this really was an initiative that started in Europe. And we are actually having a meeting in the next week or so to discuss it. And I think you probably should be involved. It's just a gleam in people's eye at the moment. Well, somebody in Europe is actually building a database, but to put it into MicroscopyDB is we really haven't done much, but to agree to talk about that yet.
Great.
And anyone else who's interested, who has a tool or wants to see what's going on, is welcome, I think, to join the meeting. And Nikki and Vanessa you can email BINA and they'll put you in touch.
So Vanessa's pulled up the BINA website where you can go and see all the job openings that are in the MicroscopyDB. And there's an equivalent page on the Labby website. So if you are looking for a job, you can go in and search for it. If you have a job that you want to post so that everybody can see it, you can go and post it. Here on the left, it says post a job. So the idea is that you stay in your community, at your community website, and you put the resources in there and you search for them there. So when Vanessa clicks on that submit a job button, that goes to a MicroscopyDB page. And that's where you would submit your job. And then it gets a brief review just to make sure that the links are all correct and that it isn't truly a job that you've posted, that somebody hasn't posted something inappropriate. And then it goes up on the website and it appears back on the BINA site, on the Labi site, on the Canada Bioimaging site. Mexico Bioimaging, when they have their website up, it will be on the Mexico Bioimaging website. So all of these organizations are partnering, and you can see the content that they're displaying. So when it says see here, you click on that and it takes you to that website, that page where that content is displayed. So not all of the partners are displaying all of the content. Currently, BINA is the only one displaying the training and education resources, but we are hoping to get everybody adopting those and putting them on their websites. And the same is true then for events. If you have an event and you want to get broader participation, particularly an online event, because anybody can participate in that pretty much, put it in the MicroscopyDB. So Labi has a page where you can submit events. It goes in there, and within a few minutes, we get an email. We go and check to make sure that the links work and it is in fact an appropriate posting. And then it appears on the BINA website, the Canada Bioimaging website, the Labi website, the ELMI website, all of the partners that are displaying that content. Your posting now appears there. So the incentive for you to take the time and effort to put your event in there is that you will reach a much broader audience with your event. So instead of potentially putting your event on and having 5 people participate from your local facility or local community, you hopefully have a broader group of people participating. So we've had feedback from folks that by putting their postings in there, they have received increased numbers of participation on their online events from a much broader range of participants. So we're trying to give incentive for people to put things in there, and the incentive is that you get greater exposure for your tool, for your event, and for your job. And it's all free. And we're building those partnerships, as Kate said. These are partners around the globe who will get to see the content that you are putting in on your own network website. You don't have to go anywhere else. And if you go to your network website and they don't have MicroscopyDB, please send them to us. We're always looking for partners.
That was fantastic. Just what we needed.
Thank you, Nikki. That was great.
I just want to add one thing about that at the end. Great job. Nikki and Vanessa have done an incredible job of getting MicroscopyDB together, and all the people around the world who've helped, people like Sylvie, who's on the call. This has been a truly international initiative, but I really want to thank the CZI who have funded this, and that has been instrumental to getting it working.
And I would just like to point out that the training and education database that we have up is all the result of the work of the BINA Training and Education Working Group. There have been some other submissions to that database, but the vast majority of that content is the work that they did during COVID. So we are always looking for new content. If you have training and education resources, please put them in there. And if you have feedback about the forms or about another field that you'd like to see in there, let us know. There is a language field. So if your resource is only in Spanish, select it. If we don't have that language there, there is a note field in the form that you fill in. Leave us a note and we'll try and work on it. Thanks.
I just want to jump in real quick and make it clear that for the training and education resources, these are not generated by the Training and Education Working Group. What we did was collect links to resources. And if you submit a link to your resource, you continue to host your resource wherever you have it shared. Just the link to it goes into the database.
Yes, that's a very important point, because that also means that you can monitor how many times people are accessing it. So if you are reporting back to your funders, hopefully you're going to see an uptick in the number of times people are downloading your resource or reviewing your resource. And if you have to update or change it, you're in control of that. So the only problem would be as if you moved it and you broke that link, you'd have to resubmit it. But we're trying to make sure that everybody gets the credit for the hard work that they're doing by linking to where you're putting it and giving it the broadest exposure possible. Thanks, Kate, for pointing that out and reminding us.
Actually, by the way, the MicroscopyDB does more than you've heard so far. You're going to hear more about it in some of the other presentations, including the one I recorded for the corporate partners. So anyone in the companies, please keep a lookout as well for MicroscopyDB because it's doing all kinds of cool stuff.
Actually, that's very true because, again, MicroscopyDB is totally agnostic. We don't mind whether you're in academia or industry. If you have an industry job and you want to get it out there to the broader community, put it in the database. We are not going to say, oh, no, you can't use it, your industry. We really want everybody to participate. And if you have workshops on your instruments or your technologies, put them in the events. If you have training materials on your instruments, your technologies, put them in the training and education resources database, please. So we still have a little bit of time, I think, and the idea was that we'd have a general wrap-up of, what we had heard this morning and what were some of the lessons learned from this. And I think one of the take-homes that I'm taking from this is there's room for everything out there. So Kellogg's is a marvelous course, as you have heard, but it is not inexpensive and it requires people to move. And we've already heard how difficult that can be for some folks to get visas to leave their own countries and come and visit the United States or anywhere, really. So we also need those online resources. We need to give people the ability to build their skill set in whatever way is most comfortable to them. So BINA is still working to pursue the online options because we feel that that is the one that's going to give us the broadest reach. But we are also going to continue supporting getting people to in-person because, as Phil pointed out, that networking is incredibly important. It's not just about what you learn on the course, it's about the people that you meet and what they bring, what experience they bring and how you can work with them afterwards. So meetings like this are wonderful because they ripple, you get that lovely ripple effect. And I think that there is space for literally everything out there. We shouldn't be negative about any resource that's out there. I've had a little bit of feedback from people saying that, MicroscopyDB isn't curated, but it isn't intended to be. It's intended to get the information out there and then you look at it and you personally curate it. If you found something that's tremendously useful, tweet about it, tell everybody. We're actually trying to get as much of it out there as possible. There are other extremely good resources like Global Bioimaging training resources are very heavily curated. They put beautiful packages together. It's very different. You can go into their pages and you can basically follow a beautiful course with documentation and videos. That takes a lot of time and effort to put together, and they are doing that. Jennifer Waters has done a marvelous job with her micro courses. Those are online. So there's room for all of these things. We just need to make sure everybody's aware of them and bringing them to people's attention. Did anybody else have any comments or anything from the last few sessions that they want to bring up and discuss? Our next session will focus on data management and sharing. So that will be another exciting session after lunch. So I hope everybody online will be able to join us for that. Lunch will be 90 minutes. I think we're on time to take our 90-minute break today. So please network amongst yourselves here, and then if there's anybody on the online audience who can stay on and would like a breakout room, we could potentially see if we can work something like that out for us, for you at least. Let us know in the chat. And then Claire had mentioned that she would like to sit with anybody on a table during lunch that's interested in mentoring. So either hearing about what we could do in the community around mentoring, if you are interested in being a mentor, or if you're interested in being menteed. So if we end up with more than enough people for one table, then I'll host another table and we'll have a discussion about what you all would like to see us consider doing in that space in the coming year. Claire, did you want to, Vanessa, you wanted to add something to that?
I just wanted to say, speakers for the next session, come check in with me before you break for lunch. And again, as Nikki said, online audience, if you have any final questions or comments, if not, we'll rejoin you in about 90 minutes.